The Starting Five podcast has returned for season 3. Here at Big Time Hoops, we're excited to welcome back the UK-born, but now proud Mainer Abby Davids and the North Deering dweller Taylor Mannix of the Portland Underground. They're back to serve the great basketball fans of Maine their weekly dose of local hoops discussion. And now, without further delay, here is Taylor Mannix and Abby Davids with the Starting Five podcast, brought to you by Big Time Hoops Maine and presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union.
Welcome into the Big Time Hoops Starting Five podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Taylor Mannix here, and let's get ready to tackle predictions. We got tournament time going, College Round Up, Maine Celtics Minute. Can't wait to bring it all to you. Abby's off this week. I'm on. We're bringing you the Starting Five podcast after a word from our sponsors first. At Town & Country Federal Credit Union, we believe in hoops, except the ones you have to jump through to get a great deal. That's why Town & Country has a rewards checking account with a free debit card that has no monthly fees, no minimum balance, ATM refunds, and lots of financial freedom no matter what your age is. Stop paying ridiculous fees for your money. When it comes to making a winning shot, joining Town & Country Federal Credit Union is nothing but net. Make a fast break to Town & Country now online at TCFCU.com. That's TCFCU.com. Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Membership eligibility applies. Federally insured by NCUA. Clean Me Exteriors is a local family-owned pressure washing and exterior cleaning business providing services for residential and commercial property owners in southern Maine. Whether it's washing dirty siding, removing moss and ugly stains from your roof, or making sure your gutters are clean and working properly, Clean Me Exteriors is here to help. With over 200 plus 5-star reviews, Clean Me Exteriors is southern Maine's leader in all exterior cleaning needs, providing excellent service to homeowners, property and facility managers, retailers, contractors, and more. Are you ready to have the cleanest property on the block? Give us a call today at 207-209-3799 or visit our website www.cleanmeexteriors.com for a free inquiry form and to learn more. Welcome back into the Big Time Hoops Starting Five podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. It's the Maine College Round Up, highlighting Maine programs and athletes in college. To kick this segment off today, we're starting talking about Simon Chadbourne, who set the University of Maine Farmington single-season three-point record back on February 6th. The senior is a Portland, Maine native and set a new program single-season record for three-pointers made, breaking his own record from last season in the Beavers' 72-66 win over Maine Maritime Academy. Chadbourne entered the game with 87 three-pointers on the season, needing 2 more to break his previous record of 88 set during that 2022-23 season. He achieved the new record at the 5:50 mark of the first half in their February 6th game with a deep three-pointer off an assist from former Thornton Academy standout Dylan Griffin. On his record-breaking night, Chadbourne hit 5 of 15 from beyond the arc, finishing with 15 points. Chadbourne is also a part of the 1K Club. Looking ahead, UMF concluded their season yesterday versus North Atlantic Conference leading Husson University. When you're listening to this, you'll be able to look up a result, as I'm recording Saturday morning before I head over to the Expo for high school action, which we'll get into. But the Beavs are 12-11 now, which means they can't finish with a losing record, and NAC playoffs begin Friday, February 21st with quarterfinal action, so pretty exciting time to be at UMF. And again, big shout out to Simon Chadbourne, one of the best three-point shooters the state of Maine has ever seen. Moving over to the women's side, the Bowdoin Women's basketball team's incredible season continued with a 70-49 victory over Wesleyan on Friday. That win at the time improved them to 23-0. Bowdoin never trailed in the contest, but couldn't really pull away from Wesleyan in the early goings as they owned a 12-9 lead after just one quarter, but they coasted in the second half, pushing the lead to as many as 23 points in the fourth on their way to closing out the victory. Sydney Jones led 4 players in double digits for Bowdoin as she accounted for 20 points with 7 boards, 4 assists, and a steal. And look, hopefully this group will be undefeated by the time you're hearing this podcast. I'm going to call my shot, though. They're going to be 24-0 when you're hearing this. They're going to beat Trinity today on the road at 3 p.m. I will say, though, it's not going to be easy. Trinity just knocked off the Colby Mules on Friday night. They're 6-3 in New England Small College Athletic Conference play, and overall are 17-6. Huge test for Bowdoin, but a good one ahead of the NESCAC tournament as quarterfinals will get underway next Saturday, February 22nd. So hopefully when you're listening to this, 24-0. Now time for some Cooper Flagg updates. Flagg turned in his 4th highest scoring performance of the season last Thursday when Duke blasted Cal 78-59. Behind 27 points from the freshman phenom, Flagg finished 8 of 14 shooting and hit all 9 of his free throw attempts while leading all scorers as the Blue Devils improved to 21-3 and 13-1 in ACC play. One thing I saw from Duke and Flagg in the win was really the blueprint for how they're going to attack zone defenses moving forward. When Cal was looking for answers in the first half, Coach Mark Madsen threw a 2-3 zone at the Blue Devils. And for teams struggling to match Duke's size and skill, which is like almost all of them, it's a way to potentially mix things up. You get the Blue Devils out of rhythm a bit, but Duke figured it out quickly. During one sequence, Malik Brown effectively sealed off the low man in Cal's defense, freeing Flagg for a clean catch and easy dunk. And there are no shortcuts to containing a player of his caliber, not even a zone. And that's the thing. Any team that runs a zone against Duke, Cooper Flagg will punish you. He will punish you. Absolutely punish you. And to go back to his 9 for 9 from the charity stripe, Flagg is now shooting 81.4% for the season from the stripe, which is great for not just him, but also Duke, because he is second in the ACC at 6.5 free throws per game. So he's getting to the line, he's getting free throws, and he's hitting 81% of them. I mean, what can't Cooper Flagg do? And the result will be in by the time you listen to this, but Duke gets another visit from a member of the ACC's West Coast crew as Saturday they take on Stanford. Stanford's going to be at Cameron Indoor Stadium. The Cardinals are 16-9, 8-6 in the ACC, and they've dropped 3 of their past 4 after losing to Georgia Tech this past Wednesday. But they have a versatile 7-foot star. Maxime Reynaud, I believe is his name. I might be butchering the last name, but Maxime is, in my opinion, arguably the second best player in the ACC behind Cooper Flagg. So you're going to be listening to this after the result, but if you see Maxime had a big game, just remember who called it on Saturday, because the 7-footer is a monster, but I expect Duke and Coop to handle their business. Let's head to the UMaine updates now real quickly before we get to the Maine Celtics Minute. UMaine teams both battle Vermont and Key America East Conference battles today. I'll have recaps on the next episode of the podcast because those games are happening today, aka Saturday. So when you're listening to Sunday, just listen to the next one and I'll have the UMaine updates. Some really key matchups though against Vermont for both the men and women's basketball teams at the University of Maine. All right, that wraps up the Maine College Round Up. Let's jump into the Maine Celtics Minute, brought to you by Nosh Kitchen Bar. Maine won their 7th straight. That's right. The Maine Celtics turned a double-digit halftime deficit into a thrilling 107-106 victory over Long Island on Thursday night. Maine has now won 7 consecutive games to extend their longest winning streak of the season. Maine is now 13-9 after starting the season 6-9, and were led by Drew Peterson, who finished with 1 rebound shy of a triple-double, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists for the two-way player. Drew had the ball on a string too all night. The most impressive playmaking performance I've seen in a Maine Celtics uniform for him. Just so crisp and precise with his passing and decision-making. And to be fair, maybe it was because he was asked to do more of a point guard, or play more of a point guard position, because Maine was playing without two-way player J.D. Davison on Thursday, who missed just his 3rd game of the season because he had to go participate on Friday night in the Castrol Rising Stars Challenge in San Francisco, California in the NBA All-Star Game. We'll get into that in a second. Let's go back to the win, though, that they got on Thursday over the Long Island Nets, affiliates of the Brooklyn Nets. Rebounding was a huge key in that win. Maine out-rebounded the Nets 61-42 and grabbed 25 total offensive rebounds, so a lot of second-chance opportunities for Maine. Hassan Ward led the team with 14 rebounds. Banks and Peterson each snagged 9 for Maine, who is now 12-2 when they out-rebound their opponents. Weird, when you win the battle on the glass, it usually results in success. Take notes. Maine will have some time off now for NBA All-Star Weekend. They do return to action on February 20th against the Indiana Mad Ants, but as I just referenced, JD went to the Rising Stars game. Man, did he excel. He shined bright on the big stage during that Rising Stars game at All-Star Weekend on Friday night. He was part of Team G League in a 4-team tournament for the 2025 Rising Stars game. The two-way player finished with 5 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, helping the G League advance to a decisive game in the tournament. Davison is the first Maine Celtic player to participate in the Rising Stars event, and the first for the Boston Celtics since Jason Tatum in 2019. In his 3rd season with Maine, Davison has solidified himself as one of the top players in the NBA's G League and really proving he deserves a shot at the NBA. He is Maine's franchise leader in points, assists, steals, and games played. He is also top 10 in the G League in points per game and assists this season. During the month of February, Davison averaged 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists per game, so totally deserving of the All-Star nod. But this kid, I can't wait to see him in the NBA. He's going to get a contract. Probably not going to be coming up through Boston, but man, when JD arrives, he's going to be a fun NBA player to watch. So that's going to wrap up the Maine Celtics Minute. Time for the Starting 5 podcast next, and a ton of action to get to, from prelims to quarterfinals to predictions. So much fun here on the Big Time Hoops Starting 5 podcast, presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Word from our sponsors, and then the Starting 5 podcast. The shots you never make are the ones you never take. Give Town & Country Federal Credit Union a shot and you'll be part of a winning team. Town & Country has an awesome mobile app so you can do what you want when you want it. No monthly fees, no minimum balance, a free debit card, and you can get paid for living life. Don't double dribble the opportunity to bank local and bank better, except not at a bank, at Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Join Maine's best credit union at TCFCU.com. That's TCFCU.com. Membership eligibility applies, federally insured by NCUA. Welcome back into the Big Time Hoops Starting Five podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Time to get into the Starting Five, and let's talk about the high school tournament. This is what everyone's been waiting for. Today, as mentioned in the intro, we'll tackle the Class B boys quarterfinals, the Class AA quarterfinals, boys and girls. The Class C and D tournament, we'll also just kind of give some updates, talk about prelims, things what's going on there, and then I'll touch on the girls tournament predictions and boys tournament predictions. I will give you my regional winners. Maybe I'll give you gold balls. We'll see. I don't know enough of the North to really predict that, so I might wait till the championship, but I'll at least give you my regional winners from the girls and boys in the South here today. Let's get after it, though, and talk the Class B boys quarterfinals. It was an incredible night of basketball on Friday at the Portland Expo. Let's start with the 4th-seeded Eagles of Lincoln Academy, who survived a triple overtime thriller to advance past the number 5-seeded Yarmouth Clippers 59-57. And that's right, you heard me. 3 overtimes. Big shout out to Drew Hunt, who put up a cool 14 points, while Rowan Donahue came up clutch, scoring 14 of his 16 after the third quarter. A little more insight on Rowan. He was a JV player last year and had only 2 points going into those final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, but came up massive for the Birds. Lincoln Academy will next challenge Madomic Valley at 7:45 on Tuesday at the Expo, and this time Lincoln Academy will be happy to have their head coach back, as Ryan Bell didn't coach Friday after being ejected for receiving 2 technical fouls in the regular season finale. The Lincoln Academy boys clearly wanted another opportunity to play for Coach Bell, and they're going to get that opportunity against Madomic Valley on Tuesday again at 7:45 at the world-famous Portland Expo. But what a way to open up Expo play. I was there on Thursday night ahead of Friday night for the Maine Celtics game. As you guys heard, I griped about that already in the Maine Celtics Minute, but the point is, I kind of had this feeling we'd be getting games like this. The Maine Celtics game ended, as you know, it was a 1-point win for Maine, and it just felt like it was foreshadowing what we were about to see here at the Expo, and Lincoln Academy and Yarmouth just gave us a classic, and I'm sure those Lincoln Academy boys won't forget that win anytime soon, so congratulations to them and Yarmouth on a great season. And also, I don't want to make it seem like I'm some Nostradamus because I felt like the tournament was going to have dramatic games. That would be absolutely ridiculous. So that's not what I'm trying to say, but I guess my point is, again, the magic of the Expo was already starting to kick in on Thursday, and by Friday, it was clearly full throttle with the way that Lincoln Academy game played out. Speaking of full throttle, the opening game at the Expo between number 3 Spruce Mountain and number 6 Oceanside also didn't disappoint. The Phoenix knocked off the defending regional champion Mariners 60-56 in what was a thriller. One name you've heard a lot about on this podcast was Jace Bessie, and for good reason, but last night it was about Kai Doer, who dropped 32 points, including a go-ahead putback with 1 minute to go, as the Phoenix had to overcome a 5-point deficit with under 3 minutes left. Jace Bessie did get his handprints on the game with 12 points, and Owen Kelvey finished with 11. But again, Kai was the story of the night with the 32 points and really leading the way offensively. I saw my guy Trophy Mode get some incredible shots of him on the breakaway, just some incredible athleticism, especially attacking the rim. So I expect to see more highlights, at least, of Kai in the next round, but what a game for that young man. 32 points, just an incredible showing on the Expo floor. Another thing that stood out to me watching this game on NFHS Network was the incredible coaching job I thought Scott Bessie did, and his coaching staff too. Credit everybody on that coaching staff, because for me, the turning point came when Spruce made some defensive adjustments. Oceanside had been raining threes for just about the entire game. They hit 10 3-pointers over the first 3 quarters, but then Spruce Mountain kind of threw a little bit of a change-up at him. I guess maybe a curveball, whichever one you struggled with at the plate as a kid in Little League. Going from a matchup zone to a man-to-man defense, and they did that about midway through the fourth, and from that point on, they only allowed 5 points. So really just a credit to the Spruce Mountain coaching staff and my guy Scott Bessie for making the adjustments necessary to help them get over the hump, and credit to the boys for executing as well. owning their matchups and knocking off Oceanside, who had been the big bad wolf in Class B South on the boys' side for a couple years. So credit to them. And again, incredible season for Zeb Foster and company on Oceanside. That was a really good team. Larry Reed runs an incredibly tight ship. Great program. Expect them to be back. But again, tonight we got to tip our caps to Spruce Mountain and enjoy the ride, because I think they're poised to make some noise. We'll see what happens in the next round. But if that team's playing like that, they're going to be hard to beat. Now let's get to the top seeds in the B South boys regions as York and Madomic Valley cruise to victories in theirs. One unique thing that happened with Madomic Valley that I don't think I've ever seen in Maine high school basketball was Madomic Valley. They only scored 14 first half points, mind you, but they held Lake Region to 0 first half points. In fact, the Lakers didn't get their first bucket until 6:40 of the second half. And by that point, the Madomic Valley Panthers had really taken control. It was a 30-0 lead on way to a 50-20 victory at the Portland Expo. The game didn't finish till about 11 p.m. because obviously the triple overtime we had earlier in the night. So an exciting, thrilling night at the Expo was capped with one of the more unique games I've ever seen. Lake Region, Coach Martin and company, great people too. We know they'll come back stronger than ever after this kind of a loss, but credit Madomic Valley, who adjusted to the slow pace, was able to find their way in the offense and get the points they needed. But then on the other side of the ball, we've talked how stout their defense is. To see them hold a team to no points in the first half is to me an exclamation point and a message to the rest of B South too. York had a commanding win that we'll talk about in a second, but to do what Madomic Valley did on Friday night, that was a message to not only B South, but the rest of Class B in the state, that the state championship might be theirs to lose. Now, they have a tough matchup against the 13-6 Lincoln Academy Eagles, who we talked about earlier, who won that triple overtime game. They get their coach back. That's 7:45 Tuesday. And then they get the winner of Spruce Mountain and York, which I'm sorry, we just talked about Spruce, and we'll talk about 19-0 York in a second. No matter what, the road out of the South region's not easy, and I tell you, whoever's going to win B, it won't be easy from the North either. But I've never seen a performance like that. And again, to know that they've had the reputation to be a good defense, but to really solidify it at the Portland Expo in your first playoff game in Class B South, just amazing stuff. So I'm going to tip my cap to Madomic. They look like a team and a force to be reckoned with, but again, they're going to be pushed by Lincoln Academy on Tuesday, February 18th, 7:45 at the Expo. Let's talk a little bit about York, though, now. The York Wildcats improved their record to 19-0 overall, beating the Cape Elizabeth Capers 76-37. It wasn't as convincing as Madomic Valley, but they were in control through the whole thing, leading from wire to wire, and used a 19-7 fourth quarter to really put the game out of reach. York was led by Reese McDonald's 19 points and Lucas Bouchard's 12. Ryan Cummins also chipped in 7 points. For Cape Elizabeth, Eli Smith led the way with 2 3-pointers made and 14 points overall. Cape finishes the season at 7-13. And again, looking towards next week's matchups, there's some pretty appetizing ones. I'm telling you, Lincoln Academy and Madomic, a battle of the Midcoast, and of course Spruce Mountain and York. Don't sleep on either of those matchups. 6 p.m. for Spruce and York, the 3 versus the 2, Tuesday, February 18th, followed by number 4 Lincoln Academy and number 1 Madomic Valley at 7:45. Tell you what, though, that York-Spruce game's a little bit more interesting after seeing how Spruce played early on at the Expo. I can't wait for Tuesday night. It's going to be fantastic fireworks down there in Portland. Moving into the AA quarterfinals, boys and girls, starting with the boys, big-time congratulations to Joe Russo, who won his 500th game at the helm of Portland High School as they beat the Oxford Hills Vikings 56-38 to advance to the Cross Insurance Arena and again win Joe Russo's 500th game. The win meant so much to the Portland High School community. I'm somebody who's involved in it and has been in it. I graduated Portland circa 2011, and what Joe Russo has meant to the community can't be put into words. They can't be contextualized. He's a Portland native. He grew up on Munjoy Hill, played basketball at the University of Maine Presque Isle, and has coached Portland now for 34 seasons. And look, I got a chance to speak with Michael Hoffer, who covered the game about this, and he had some pretty awesome things to say about Coach Russo's 500th win. Take a listen here.
Coach Joe Russo with his 500th victory as Portland advanced with a win over Oxford Hills. And, you know, I did a big write-up on that game and a lot of background. And he started coaching when Ronald Reagan was still in the White House. How crazy is that? And, you know, we've seen 8 different presidential terms. I think he's had 10 different athletic directors there at Portland. Just an incredible run. And, you know, this is not a great Portland team. And I think for much of the year, he didn't think he was going to get to that milestone. But, Portland's kind of come on of late, and they put together a strong second half to beat Oxford Hills, and now they have a showdown with Wyndham. And let's not forget, guys, last year in the regional final, I think Portland had a 12-point lead over Wyndham at halftime, and then Wyndham completely dominated that second half and went on to win. But Portland believes they can play with these guys, and they're athletic. They can create a lot of problems on a big floor. I would not overlook the Bulldogs, and I don't think Wyndham will.
That, again, was Michael Hoffer of The Forecaster, Varsity Maine, wherever you read him. He's the best of the best. He joins my midday show every Friday to discuss all things from his coverage area. And, again, highlighting Portland Bulldogs and Joe Russo there. As they advance to the Cross Insurance Arena, he mentioned it, they're taking on the defending Class AA champions, Wyndham Eagles. The Eagles handled their business against number 7 Bangor 76-40 on Wednesday, just like Portland did Oxford Hills. But again, congratulations to Coach Russo, and as well, we look forward to watching them be able to play the Wyndham Eagles. That game is Thursday, February 20th at 1 p.m. tip-off. 10-9 Portland Bulldogs against the number 2 Wyndham Eagles, 15-4. We'll get a little bit more into them as we talk about my predictions, but let's keep it on the Class AA quarterfinals recap as we get into a game of a battle of the bridge. The Edward Little Red Eddies took down the Lewiston Blue Devils 49-38 in their quarterfinal. Edward Little are 12-7, and they were led by Ding Maywen, who had 14 points, and again, he is a finalist for Mr. Maine basketball. He's really a do-it-all guy for them. Cole Maywen had 12 points, while Owen Galway had 9, so the Edward Little Red Eddies advance to the Cross Insurance Arena. They get the luxury, if you will, of battling the Chevrolet Stags at 2:45. Chevrolet has had a little bit of a couple weeks off. It's going to be interesting to see how the number 1 seed handles that downtime, as of course Edward Little has just played a tough rivalry game to advance here. It's going to be interesting when those games take place again Thursday afternoon. Portland Wyndham 1 p.m. And Edward Little Chevrolet at 2:45. In the South, the Bonnie Eagle Scots knocked off Sanford 64-59 to advance to play the number 1 seed in 16-2 Thornton Academy Trojans Thursday, February 20th at 7:45 from the Cross Insurance Arena. The other game Wednesday in AA South was between Scarborough and Deering. Scarborough advanced with a 68-48 win behind Adam Fitzgerald's 17 points and Carter Blanche's 16. The third-seeded Scarborough Storm really used a giant second half to overcome the number 6 Deering Rams, who had the lead at the halftime, but a 20-9 third quarter really changed things, and especially a 26-13 fourth quarter that allowed the Scarborough Red Storm to pull away for the victory. Tayshawn Cleveland led Deering with 11. Evan Lagasse and Justin Jamal each finished with 10 apiece. The final quarterfinal in the boys AA South region was played on Friday between the South Portland Red Riots, the number 2 seed, and the number 7 Gorham Rams. It was at the South Portland Gym at South Portland High School, and South Portland won 60-42. It was quite the win. Carmine Susi had 21 points, while Manny Hidalgo added 17. Gabe Jackson chipped in 10. Manny Hidalgo also had 8 assists there with his 17 points, so an impressive performance again for the Red Riots, who advanced to the semifinals. They will play Scarborough at the Portland's Cross Insurance Arena on Thursday, so very exciting. Matchups are set. The number 3 Scarborough Red Storm and the number 2 South Portland Red Riots 6 p.m. Thursday. Number 4 Bonnie Eagle against number 1 Thornton Academy 7:45 Thursday, February 20th. Going to be a fun night there as well. And don't forget, Thursday, February 20th, all-day Class AA action on the boys' side, South and North. The North play in the afternoon starting at 1 p.m. The South, as you heard, at 6 p.m., beginning with Scarborough and South Portland. Let's jump to the girls' side, shall we? Beginning with Friday night, where we saw a classic between the 4 and 5 Bangor Rams and Wyndham Eagles, respectively. The number 4 Bangor Rams needed Emily Adams to make a second of 2 free throws with 2.9 seconds remaining to lift them over the 5th-seeded Eagles in that Class AA North quarterfinal, 37-36. Wyndham's Stella Gervais tied the game when she made the first of 2 free throws with about 50 seconds left in that game. The visiting Eagles got possession after the second free throw, but a turnover gave Bangor a chance for the win, and Adams was fouled after grabbing an offensive rebound. Adams ended up finishing the game with 13 points for the Bangor Rams, who are now going to take on the number 1 Oxford Hills Vikings next Wednesday in Portland at the Cross Insurance Arena. What a fantastic game, though, last night between Bangor and Wyndham. We knew going into that game it was going to be one where you needed your popcorn extra butter, and boy, did it live up to the hype. So congratulations to Bangor, whereas it is a tough loss for Wyndham, but someone had to win, someone had to lose, and credit all the world to Bangor for taking advantage of what was a really tough matchup against the Wyndham Eagles at home and advancing to the Cross Insurance Arena. Meanwhile, the Cheverus Stags won as well on Friday, 62-34 over Lewiston. Let's now jump to earlier in the week, where the Edward Little Red Eddies, the number 3 seed in the AA North region, advanced over the number 6 seeded Portland Bulldogs with a 52-35 win. With the victory, the Edward Little Red Eddies are now returning to the Class AA North semifinals and to the Cross Insurance Arena for the first time in 7 years. The last time they played in the semifinals was 2018. That happened to be when the program won its only state championship. Edward Little's press played a huge role in their victory against Portland, making the Bulldogs very uncomfortable from the start. They suffocated them early to take command 20-4 after the first quarter. Offensively for Edward Little, they were led by Layla Facciano, who had 17 points, Rachel Penny, who had 12, and Elizabeth Galway, who had 9. Next, the Red Eddies are heading to play the number 2 Cheverus Stags, who we mentioned just knocked off Lewiston at the Cross Insurance Arena. That game is 1 p.m. Wednesday, February 19th. I expect the Edward Little Red Eddies fans to be out in droves for that one. 7 years, and the drought is broken. Congratulations to everyone in that program. Big time win for them. Taking a look at again where the North stands, Wednesday, February 19th, number 3 Edward Little will battle number 2 Cheverus at 1 p.m., and number 4 Bangor will take on number 1 Oxford Hills at 2:45. Jumping into the South, Class AA South got underway Tuesday, February 11th. Sanford knocked off Massabesic in the 3-6 game, 67-27, and then on Wednesday, the top seeds cruised as the number 1 South Portland Red Riots won 66-12 over the number 8 Noble Knights. The number 2 Gorham Rams cruised over the number 6 Bonnie Eagle Scots 60-29, and then there was a little bit of a seeding upset as the number 5 Scarborough Red Storm knocked off Thornton Academy 52-44. Ellie Rummelhart had 17 points for the Red Storm, and Emerson Flaker had 12 of her 16 in the second half to help them advance to the Cross Insurance Arena. Scarborough outscored the Trojans 35-19 in the second half, erasing a 25-17 deficit. Taking a look at where the South stands heading into this week, Wednesday, February 19th, they are the nightcap. The number 3 Sanford Spartans will battle the number 2 Gorham Rams at 6 p.m., and then at 7:45, the number 5 Scarborough Red Storm will battle the number 1 South Portland Red Riots. That's going to put a wrap on Class AA. Let's move into the third topic, Class C and D South tournament updates. Since we finished with the girls in AA, we might as well pick up in girls Class C South and Class D South and give you some updates there. Starting with Class C South, as the prelims got underway Tuesday, February 11th, Monmouth Academy knocked off Richmond 40-22 in the 6-11. There was a seeding upset in the 7-10 as the number 10 Deergo Cougars advanced over NYA 48-45. In the third and final game Tuesday, Poland at number 9 knocked off number 8 Mount Abram 45-36. So after what was a very exciting prelim, I think a lot of expectations are on Tuesday at the Augusta Civic Center, February 18th. We're going to have a ton of exciting matchups. Let's talk about them real quick. At 4 p.m., kicking things off at the Augusta Civic Center for the Class C South girls, number 6 Monmouth Academy against number 3 Madison. That game is followed at 5:30 by number 10 Deergo and number 2 Carabec. The second session for the Class C girls will begin at 7 p.m. when Buckfield will take on Wyndham in the 4-5 matchup, and then number 9 Poland will take on number 1 Halldale at 8:30 p.m. Tuesday's matchups are great. Thursday, February 20th are the semifinals, and then Saturday, February 22nd at the Augusta Civic Center are the Class C South regional finals. Very exciting week ahead at the Augusta Civic Center. It got underway with the prelims on Tuesday in Class C South on the girls' side, with again number 10 and number 9 advancing into the Augusta Civic Center. We'll see how Deergo and Poland hold their own against Carabec and Halldale respectively on Tuesday. Heading down to Class D South, there was no prelims for the girls' side. They go straight to the Augusta Civic Center for the quarterfinals. One game is getting underway today before I'm even able to see it. I'm recording this early. So number 8 Waynfleet will take on number 1 Valley. Valley, the girls are 18-0, Waynfleet 6-12. You'll have a result when you listen to this. But Monday's games tomorrow, number 5 Pine Tree Academy will take on number 4 Islesboro. That's noon. Monday, February 7th, aka tomorrow at the Augusta Civic Center. Number 6 Temple Academy will battle number 3 St. St. Dominic at 9 a.m. And then number 7 Vinyl Haven and number 2 Forest Hills will do battle at 10:30 a.m. Sorry to be all out of whack for you. I'll get them in order for you now. Number 6 Temple Academy, number 3 St. Dom's at 9. Then Vinyl Haven versus Forest Hills at 10:30. And then Pine Tree Academy in Islesboro at noon. So Monday should be fun at the Augusta Civic Center. Again, D South girls action. And quick correction too, I said Windham when I was talking about Buckfield playing against I meant Winthrop. Regardless, the Buckfield girls are playing Winthrop. So let me just get that right, because I had that screwed up in Class C South. So I just realized I said Windham. Windham on my mind. Can't help myself. Let's jump to the boys' side now, starting in Class C, where their preliminary round action got underway Wednesday, February 12th. And let's first talk about the 6 and 11 matchup between Madison and Trape, respectively. Madison won 50-36 over Trape Academy. In the 7-10 matchup, Winthrop beat Waynfleet 54-45. And in the 8 versus 9, Deergo needed overtime, but was able to overcome the Old Orchard Beach Seagulls 60-52. The Cougars and the Seagulls battling it out there in the 8 and 9 matchup, and again needing overtime. This Old Orchard Beach team started really slow, but really started to get going in the second half of the season. Coach Dean Plant and company were playing better as the second half got underway after, again, a really bad start. I think they were 1-7 to start the season, if I remember correctly. But Nathaniel Wainwright scored 20 of his 26 points in the second half and overtime to prevent Old Orchard Beach from continuing their magical run here in the second half of the Class C South season. Wainwright was 9 for 10 at the free throw line overall and got 6 of Deergo's 8 points in the overtime, while Old Orchard Beach was held scoreless to help the Deergo Cougars advance 60-52 into the Augusta Civic Center. What a fantastic finish for this Deergo Cougars team, and again, what a big-time overtime victory. They're 11-8 now. Again, Nathaniel Wainwright, 26 points, 3 made three-pointers. Owen Smith had 14 points, and Dakota White had 12. So 3 in double figures for Deergo. And they look like a pretty scary team heading in to play the number 1 seeded Mount Abram Roadrunners at 17-1 on Monday, February 17th, 8:30 p.m. at the Augusta Civic Center. But that one looks intriguing. Deergo had a dramatic win at the end of the season. They now get another dramatic win against Old Orchard Beach. And when a team is playing this good heading into the tournament, they become a scary foe. So we'll see how Mount Abram does. But if I'm Mount Abram, I'm preparing hard for that Deergo team at 11-8, because they are not your average number 8 seed after 2 really big-time wins to end the season and regular season, and now in the preliminary round of Wednesday to get to the Civic Center. Gotta love the Cougars and what they're doing. Roadrunners are very talented too, but that's going to be a fun 8 versus 1 matchup at 8:30 at the Augusta Civic Center. Other matchups taking place there. Leading things off at 4 p.m., number 6 Madison will battle number 3 Carabec. At 5:30 p.m., number 7 Winthrop will battle number 2 Monmouth Academy. And then at 7 p.m., before the Deergo Mount Abram game at the Augusta Civic Center, number 5 Halldale will battle number 4 Richmond. Semifinals are on Thursday, February 20th, with the regional final in C South on Saturday, February 22nd, 7:45 at the Augusta Civic Center. Looking into D South now, the only preliminary game was Wednesday, February 12th. Temple Academy, won 51-36 over Greenville to advance. Greenville was the number 9 seed, Temple the number 8, so no seeding upsets there. The 8 knocks off the 9, and Temple really took control in the third quarter, outscoring Greenville 12-5 in that third quarter. 27 points, though, from Liam Mason of Greenville led the way, and in fact led all scorers with 27 points. It was a losing effort, but you got to credit the kid for having 27 in a prelim game, fighting tooth and nail to keep his team alive. Looking at Temple Academy offensively, Gabe Young had 15 points on 3 made three-pointers, while Ricardo Luis had 14 points and 13 rebounds for a double-double. Liam Wiley had 8 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Filling up the stat sheet was Liam as they advanced in the Class D South tournament. Now Temple Academy is going to be facing off against the number 1 team in Class D Valley today. Again, I'm recording this on Saturday, so you guys will have results for at least 3 games out of the D South quarterfinals. The only game we'll be looking forward to on Monday, February 17th, 1:30 p.m. Number 5 Buckfield will take on number 4 Pine Tree Academy. Look forward to that one. Already set up, though, is the semifinal game, because we do have a result from Saturday. Number 3 Telstar Gould knocked off number 6 Wiscasset 74-76, so they will be playing on Wednesday in the semifinals in Augusta. The rest of them, though, sorry I don't have results for you. I'm in the studio recording. I'm doing my best, darn it. So we'll see what we get from there. But that's going to wrap up the Class C and D tournament updates. We'll give you more throughout the week. I'm going to be trying to pump episodes out to you guys to keep you posted on what's happening here in Portland. But let's get into prediction time. So how it's going to go, I'll give you my AA gold ball winners. Obviously, North-South will predict boys AA, girls AA. For A, B, C, and D, I'm just going to give you my South regional champs because I don't know enough about the North yet. I don't want to be calling gold balls and not realizing what I'm getting into with some of those teams up in the North. You South guys can kill me for it. I don't care. I will give you, though, at least my regional championship games and who's going to advance to the state final out of the South regions for A, B, C, and D. Let's get after it. Let's start with the girls' side. All right, I'm just going to rip through this. In AA girls, on the South side, give me Gorham versus South Portland. South Portland advances to the state championship as the AA South regional champions. On the North side, give me Oxford Hills versus Edward Little in the AA North regional final, and give me Oxford Hills advancing out of the AA North region, and then give me the Oxford Hills girls as the AA girls champs over the South Portland Red Riots. In A, on the girls side, at least for the South, for me, this is one of the toughest regions, I can't lie. Like Grey New Gloucester, Brunswick, Mount Ararat, Marshwood, whichever way you want to go with it. My regional finalists, though, I think you're going to get Mount Ararat coming through that bracket. They're going to be able to beat Westbrook and Brunswick or Freeport, whoever they get there. And then on the other side, I'm going to give it to Marshwood. I really, really like Grey New Gloucester, Izzy Morelli and what they bring, but Sarah Theriault and company, they've earned it. Give me Marshwood Hawks versus the Mount Ararat Eagles, and give me the Mount Ararat Eagles finally getting over the hump. They didn't last year against Brunswick. I do really like this Marshwood team, but I'm going to give the nod to the Mount Ararat Eagles coming out of the South region for A girls. I just think they're going to be able to have a little bit more oomph. Grey New Gloucester and Marshwood definitely the favorites to get to that regional final against them, but I think it's finally the year for Mount Ararat to make that leap and be able to get over the hump and finally at least get the opportunity to play for a gold ball. On the B girls side, already some interesting matchups happening. We've seen Oceanside and Madomic Valley advance on Saturday. Oceanside 66-39 over York. Madomic Valley 39-24 over Levitt to set up an awesome mid-coast matchup on Tuesday, 28th. I can't wait for that one. Biddeford and Wells playing while I'm recording this right now. Spruce and Lincoln will play this afternoon on the girls' side. Can't wait to watch that. My picks are going to be the Oceanside girls playing in the regional final against Spruce Mountain. I know a lot of people are high on Biddeford. I think the youth will maybe shine through a little bit for Biddeford. We talked about it all year long, and I love Spruce. I love Coach Keene. They really have a lot going on. They've been developing this program now for a while. The Pingree sisters, who once led them to a state championship, are thriving at UMF. You now have Avery Bessie. You have Grimaldi and a couple of these other girls, Kanovich. So I'm excited. I'm going to give Spruce Mountain versus Oceanside, and I'm going to say the Spruce Mountain Phoenix advance out of the Class B South girls region to head to the state championship. Oceanside or Madomic, take your pick on there. I'm going Oceanside, and Oceanside has a ton of experience, but I just think Spruce Mountain are on a mission to get back to the state championship and win it this time because, man, they left a lot to be desired in that Ellsworth game. I think they want that state championship to be back in that Livermore J area. Let's head into the South matchup on the C side, the girls. This is going to be another tough one, but for me, I'm going to be looking at the Madison Bulldogs taking on the Halldale Bulldogs, a battle of the Bulldogs on Saturday, February 22nd at the Augusta Civic Center in the Class C South region, and I'm taking the Halldale Bulldogs. I think the Halldale Bulldogs are going to have enough. This is a program that is proud, tradition, has always led the way. Their girls team has won countless state championships. It doesn't matter who's at the helm, what, kids are there. They're just a program that thrives. So give me Halldale versus Madison in that matchup on Saturday, February 22nd, with the Halldale Bulldogs representing the South in the Class C state championship. Heading to Class D, we talk about the Valley girls a lot. I do think Forest Hills is going to have something to say about it. So give me the Forest Hills girls versus the Valley girls, and Valley heading into the Class D South State Championship undefeated after a win on Saturday, February 22nd over the Forest Hills girls. Watch out for St. Dom's, though. St. Dom's girls are pretty talented as well, but I like Forest Hills and Valley to get there, the two usual suspects, and of course, the Valley girls to advance from the D South region. So there's my predictions again. For you guys, it was, no, I don't think I threw any tricky ones at you, but Oxford Hills over South Portland to win AA, Mount Ararat Eagles to represent A South, Spruce Mountain to represent B South, Halldale to represent C South, and Valley to represent D South. My picks are in. They're official. Let's see where it goes. Let's jump to the boys' side now, and in AA, well, this one's a really difficult one. Let's start on the north side, though. I'm taking the Wyndham Eagles to advance over the Chevrolet Stags, and here's why. Wyndham is so deep. They have Tyree James back. They have AJ Moody. They have Dixon. They have a bench and players that can get you on any given night, and it's not that Chevrolet doesn't. Depth is there for Chevrolet, but the championship merit, already having won the title, I know sometimes if you're starving for a championship, that hunger can lead you to the top, and maybe it will for Chevrolet, and hopefully for those young men it does. But for my opinion and my pick, I'm taking Wyndham to have the edge. I like them in this tournament. I like them advancing out of the north and representing Class AA in that state championship on Saturday, March 1st. And then you look to the south. I think it's going to be Thornton Academy taking on the South Portland Red Riots, and I give the nod to the Thornton Academy Trojans. I have Wyndham versus Thornton Academy in the Class AA gold ball game, with Wyndham getting a repeat. Again, I really like the depth. I like their coaching. Chad Polkinen and company are just so experienced that it just feels like this team is ready to take another step and win another gold ball. So Wyndham over Thornton Academy for me in the Class AA Boys State Championship. Heading down to the Class A South region on Friday, February 21st, in that regional final in Class A Boys South, give me Noble versus Falmouth. It should be a classic game, and a little bit like Mount Ararat. I feel that this Noble team is looking for a bit of revenge, and when you look at Mount Ararat, right, the girls team, they lost to Brunswick. Brunswick goes on to win the state championship. Noble loses to Great New Gloucester last year in the regional final. Great New Gloucester goes on to win the state championship. Like Mount Ararat, I am loving Noble to be able to use that motivation of loss last year to get back to the mountaintop and have an opportunity to win a state championship at the Augusta Civic Center. So give me Noble to advance out of the Class A South region over Falmouth. On the B boys side, this one as well, like A, is very difficult, and after what we saw on Friday night, it's even more difficult to pick for me. I'm going, though, with Madomic versus York in what will be one of the most epic matchups, I think, in any regional final, all classes. York versus Madomic Valley. A part of me was leaning York all season. I'm not kidding. I thought at this point of the season I'd be picking York, guys, but after Madomic Valley's performance against Lake Region, not allowing a point in the first half, I gotta ride Madomic Valley right now. I'm sorry, York. I thought incredible season. I think they have just as good of an opportunity. It's a coin flip there, but give me Madomic Valley to come out of the B South region and represent Class B South at the Cross Insurance Arena on Saturday in the state championship game. So again, Madomic Valley over York in the Class B South regional championship for me. Heading to the Class C South boys region, as I've said before, I really like the Roadrunners, so give me the Roadrunners to be battling it out against Monmouth Academy. I really like Monmouth to get back. Coach Wade Morrill always has his troops ready for any battle. I think he's going to have them ready to be playing at the Augusta Civic Center on February 22nd, so give me Mount Abram versus Monmouth, with the Mount Abram Roadrunners making their way to a state championship at the Cross Insurance Arena in March. Mount Abram again over Monmouth for my Class C boys regional final. In Class D South, I've been saying it all year, and I'm riding them. Give me the Valley boys taking on the St. Dom's boys when we get to the Augusta Civic Center Saturday, February 22nd. And in that regional final, man, Taylor Varney and company at St. Dom's are so talented, but I'm riding Valley to take the win and continue this undefeated season. I picked them to be undefeated to start the season. I can't give up on them now. So Valley boys to represent D South. Again, my picks: Wyndham over Thornton Academy in Class AA, Noble to be representing A South, Madomic Valley to be representing B South, the Mount Abram Roadrunners to be representing C South, and the Valley Boys to be representing D South. Thanks for listening to the Starting Five podcast. A lot of content from me coming your way this week. Tournament time is upon us. Enjoy the rest of the week's games, and please stay safe in the snow today. Relax, listen to this pod. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and just grab a hot cocoa and get ready for the week that's coming. Taylor Mannix here on the Big Time Hoops Starting Five podcast, presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Until next time.